people go, I never knew this was here. I think they start understanding why it's a park and really get to enjoy and appreciate nature in their own backyard.
Years ago, they had a saying. They said, you don't have to be crazy to fish, but it sure helps.
In 1957, the first time we started talking about making that into a national park.
I think it's important for people to see the landscape because of its uniqueness, to really know that there's things this beautiful so close to where they live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard the Miner's Castle. My name is David Slider. I'm a captain on the Pictured Rocks cruises. It's 12 miles of sandstone cliffs that drop right off in the water. Some of the cliffs get as high as 200 feet. They're made out of a tan sandstone that get shaped by the wind, waves, and erosion. They also have a mineral spring water that comes out and leaves stains on the cliffs. It looks like somebody almost painted the cliffs. And that's where it gets its name. The different colors that you're seeing are browns and reds from iron, black is manganese, the white is calcium, and blues and greens are from copper. You know, most places have a palette of 4 or 5 colors. This place just has so many different variety of colors.
You know, when we were kids, we'd go on the lake when we were 5, 6 years old, you know. It's something that you're pretty much, you're born into it, you know. My name's Paul Van Lanschut, and I've fished my whole life. That's the only thing I've ever done. My grandfather started out in that sailboat there that you saw in the other room. Our family's been fishing for over 100 years now, but unfortunately I'm the last one of our family that's fishing. A lot of good experiences, a lot of bad ones too. When we get out of school at the end of the day, especially in the fall of the year, when they'd be fishing herring, they'd be getting done late, you know, we'd go down and help, and we'd go over to some of the other fish docks, like old Bob Matson, and he'd pay us. He'd give us 75 cents to clear a box of herring. Well, that was a lot of money, you know. And if you became quick at it, you know, you could, you know, shuck them out pretty quick. That's why they called us herring chokers. Did anything we could to make a living, you know. We fished in the middle of Lake Superior, right by the international line by Caribou Island. You'd run way out to the Caribou, 7-8 hour run, and we'd lift what they call a double header, you know, like baseball. You'd lift 2 gangs of nets, and you'd be all day lifting. And then the next day we'd get up extra early, and we'd lift another single gang of nets, and then we had to set all them nets back after we'd tend to them, you know. Oh, them were long, hard days. So we got done. And I remember I walked up by the wheel and my dad was steering. He says, you want me to steer for a while, Pa? No, he said, you go ahead and sit down for a while. So I sat down in behind him. I fell right asleep, you know, like that. We were coming into bay. And I felt her bump one time and I jumped up. We were right on the east side of the bay, right over there. And we were gonna go right up on the beach. My poor dad had fallen asleep, you know, and we rammed the boat in reverse and opened it wide open. We were by one of them houses there, and you could see the lights coming on, you know. A tough way to make a buck, you know. but you did what you had to do, you know. You got little kids at home. We stuck her out. I guess we got by. We're here yet, so.
I'd like to believe that Pictured Rocks cruises began with my dad, Everett Morrison. However, cruises were running prior to that. There were a few outfits that were running off the old dock here. Dad was pretty much my hero, I'll tell you. He was a legend pretty much in his own time. His father had an accident out in the woods and lost fingers on one hand. So a lot of the boys, and there was 5 of them, went to work in the woods with their father to make a go of it. And Dad was one of them. In fact, he was a cook at a lumber camp at one time. He had a pretty sketchy past, I guess you might say, trying to find a place where he belonged. Once he got up here in Munising in the late 30s, I feel that he found that place now on the lake. He had a nickname when he was fishing called Lucky Morrison, because he always came in with a catch, you know. Then they'd kind of display it on big lines out here, and I'm sitting back there proud of the fact that my dad's catching a lot of fish, you know. And in 1945, the end of the war, my father, he bought a 41-foot cruiser called the Sea Queen. And he started running Pictured Rocks cruises in 1946 with that vessel. And we had a family of 4, and all of us helped with selling of the tickets and the running of the boats and so on. It's a very satisfying thing to do. In most professions, you really don't know if you're a success, sometimes for years. When you're out there in that boat for 3 hours, you know if you're a success in 3 hours. And I knew then that that's what I wanted to do. In 1965, we started a real operation and pushed making that into a national park. And sure enough, in 1966, around October, they agreed to make it a national lakeshore. I personally retired in 1996 from the Pictured Rocks cruises. In fact, both of the boys that I sold to, I had in high school. They were go-getters then, and they're still go-getters.
I've been doing it for 33 years, so I've gone on over 5,000 trips along the cliffs. One of the things that I think about when I'm out there is when the first human came and just saw that, just what did they make of that place? And just, you know, how human history has gone through with the Native Americans, you know, what they thought of it, the respect they had. The first Europeans coming through, and you just read the stories time after time, every explorer coming through, this is one of the things that they mention. What amazes me about Lake Superior, it's like its own being. It breathes with the waves, it has its emotions. Every time I go out there, I see something new. It's never, ever bored out there.